So you don't need to be an expert to know that stress, trauma, and unhealthy relationships can affect your physical health. But in this video, I want to talk to you about some of the ways that your childhood trauma, things that happened to you in childhood, can affect your brain health and your physical health as well. And on top of that, unresolved childhood trauma can not only cause a number of physical health issues and emotional health issues, but can also cause a lot of relationship chaos if both partners have not addressed their childhood trauma. That's why it's so important to understand the nature of emotional trauma and how to address it and deal with it effectively to release it permanently. So that's what I want to talk about in today's video. My name is Dr. Wendy Myers, and I'm the founder of MyersDetox.com. And I'm talking more and more about emotional trauma because I found in my practice and working with thousands of people that I always wondered why people did everything that I told them to do physically. They did the diet, they did the supplement, they did exercise, they did detox, they did other things, had tried things for years and didn't have successful results. They didn't have the results that they were seeking. And in my research, I found that over 60% of physical health issues are caused by emotional trauma. So that's why it's really important to understand the nature of emotional trauma and how it's really impacting you, not only emotionally and mentally, but also physically as well. But most importantly, you're going to learn how to start the healing process if this is something that you're dealing with. And before you think to yourself, oh, I'm fine, no, I've had therapy before, I've dealt with all my stuff in the past, I'm here to tell you that over 95% of people have dealt with one or more adverse childhood events, or ACEs, that are contributing to their physical health issues. So I assure you, emotional trauma is affecting you today, even if you've had a lot of talk therapy. So for starters, let's look at what trauma does in our physical body. So when you experience something that maybe you weren't emotionally ready to deal with, like you had a breakup in a relationship, you had a death in the family, you had someone abuse you in childhood, these memories are not stored anywhere physically in the body. They're not stored in your brain's neurons. They are not stored in your brain anywhere. They're not stored physically anywhere. Researchers have found that they are stored in our energy field. We have this invisible energy field around our body, and this is where emotional traumas reside, and this is where they need to be addressed in order to be released permanently. And I assure you that talk therapy doesn't work. One of the world's leading researchers, Professor Bessel van der Kolk. He wrote amazing books, done amazing research over 40 years, and he said that yapping doesn't work because talking in talk therapy may help you to change behavior and may help you to become an expert in your neuroses, but it doesn't address where these traumas are in your energy field. So I assure you, your adverse childhood events, or ACEs, are impacting you today with the decisions you make, with addictions, alcoholism, overeating, negative emotions, low emotions, poor relationship choices, getting into relationships with abusive people or narcissists, picking the wrong job, in addition to a number of physical health elements, increases in suicide, just so many things and negative behaviors are impacted and caused by this childhood trauma, and it affects our brain as well, and our brain functioning and our release of stress hormones. So someone without a lot of childhood adverse events are going to have a lower stress set point. Someone with more adverse childhood events are going to have a higher stress set point and have a lot more cortisol and adrenaline, trouble sleeping, more anxiety, more depression, lower production of feel-good neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. It's just this cascade of events that affects our brain, affects our thinking, affects our mental health. So on that note, I want to quickly say that if you're dealing with severe abuse or a very deep mental health issues, or you feel suicidal, you need to immediately seek out the help of a medical professional. But what I'm talking about in this video are emotional traumas that people have suffered and how it affects you physically, mentally, and emotionally. But I also want to get into the difference between PTSD and developmental trauma, or adverse childhood events. So PTSD is a single event where someone was in war, or they had a car accident, or there was maybe an assault or abuse. This is called big T trauma, and it's something that you can maybe experience something that causes you to relive that event over and over and over. And PTSD is actually very easy to resolve. The difference between that and developmental trauma or adverse childhood events is that developmental trauma happened as a child. It's something that happened to you as a result of something that your primary caregivers did to you. Maybe there was abuse involved. It can even be neglect, what they didn't do. It can be the death of a loved one. It can come from personal or family financial issues, racism, of homophobia. There's a lot of different ways that people experience and suffer from developmental trauma. And that's really hard for people to identify and pinpoint. Some of those people may be very numb in their emotions. They're not aware of their emotions. And so this developmental trauma is kind of it's chronic, so it continues to cause stress throughout your lifetime, and you have this high stress set point that I talked about before. So you always feel kind of stressed, and you don't really know why, and it causes you to reach for food or alcohol to self-soothe, and that's very, very different in its nature and in its treatment from PTSD, which is actually very easy to resolve. Some symptoms of developmental trauma include feelings of worthlessness, powerlessness, low self-esteem, chronic anger, depression, anxiety, struggling in relationships, having chaotic relationships, feelings of shame, and just so many other negative emotions can be the result of experiencing developmental trauma in your life. And so what do you do about this? How do you resolve this? So if talk therapy doesn't work, if yapping doesn't work, what do you do? So I have researched this for well over a decade in my own health journey, in my own struggle to just wake up to feel good. That was always my goal. I just want to wake up and feel good. And you deserve that as well. And so in my research, I have developed a program called the Emotional Detox Program. And in this program, you learn about the science of sound therapy and how sound therapy can help to transmute and release all these negative emotions and traumas that are being held in and around your energy field. And there's a lot of conventional medical research around using sound therapy, using frequencies, using music, using biofield tuning forks, using bioenergetic software to tune and release and transmute these negative emotions and traumas out of your energy field. It's really simple, and it can be done at home inexpensively. And so I urge you to click on the link below. There's another video and a free masterclass about the science of sound therapy and an amazing amount of research that I uncovered. I review in this free masterclass below. Just click the link and you can really explore a lot more in detail about what I'm talking about in relation to childhood trauma and how it affects the brain, how it affects you physically and mentally, and how you can release yourself from the bonds of childhood trauma. You no longer have to suffer from any of these symptoms that I described in this video. They can be very, very easily released. We just have to know where they reside and how to release them. And I have all the research and science to prove this below in this masterclass. So sign up today. I'm Dr. Wendy Myers. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next video.